Ladies and gentlemen, the following is another exciting episode of the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. I am your host, that ocean crossing, straight up bossing, flight catching, shot glass snatching, always positive, life is great, repping 592, living in the 718, no cap, straight facts, the worldwide starboy, Remy Blue. And our special guest tonight is a young lady who is making a name for herself, not just in the great sunshine state of Florida. No, she's actually making a name for herself all over the country. You've seen her in Mission Pro Wrestling. She's done her thing in Magic City Wrestling and CCW. Yes, the CCW in South Florida, but really and truly, hopefully she'll be making her debut in CCW up there in Delaware. Hint, hint, to the good folks up there at CCW. And she's also recently made her AEW debut against Sky Blue. And on top of that, she's wrestled opponents such as Layla Gray and La Rosa Negra. Everybody, welcome to the show, the Gold Standard Ruthie Jay. Ruthie, how you doing today?
What? The crowd goes wild. Oh my god. I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Great to hear you.
Okay.
First off, I just got I just got to say thank you. Thank you very much for actually, taking time out of your busy schedule to be on here. We know you're busy making moves and making a name for yourself. We really appreciate you taking a brief pit stop just to shoot the breeze about pro wrestling and, your journey through it and everything. And I remember that when we put up who should we have on our show this season, one of our, listeners was like Ruthie J, and I'm like, I've seen that name before. And this same person actually was the same person that recommended. As a matter of fact, I'm not gonna call names. I'm not gonna put him on blast. That's the only thing I'm gonna say. It's a guy, but this guy said she's gonna be as big as Red Velvet, and I was like, okay. There's people that are on my radar, but now Ruthie J is like top of the list, like Ringside Society's most wanted, to be on our show. And the reason why I say that is because Red Velvet, we had another friend that told me about Red Velvet as well. And I was like, okay, I'll listen to this person. Let me have them on. I'm always open to suggestions. And now, boom, she's all over the place. She's on AEW. She's on, Mission Pro and all that. So I'm like, yeah, we got to get Ruthie on here. But definitely, we really and truly appreciate you doing this.
No problem. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I just gotta say, you're in South Florida, um, and I've been very fortunate to see several shows there from promotions, some that are no longer around, such as Future of Wrestling, which was like 10 years ago. There was also Blueprint Pro Wrestling. I don't know if you remember them. And then there was also CCW, which I only went to one show, but it was a very enjoyable show. I had a great time there. So how did your love for professional wrestling start? What was the show or the main event that you saw that made you become a fan, or who was that uncle or aunt that you saw watching it and you were like, okay, this is interesting. They're actually fighting in a squared circle and they're wearing like cool clothing. How did it start for you?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really a family member because like my parents always had to work, so it was our babysitter. Like he was like our babysitter and our tenant because like I guess, but he was kind of like our babysitter. So he had wrestling on, and I was like 4 years old. I was pretty young. So he used to watch wrestling,
Okay.
and he didn't have any cable, so of course he was watching SmackDown. So I remember seeing SmackDown, and I saw these things, and I thought it was real because, of course, I'm like 4 years old. I thought it was real. Everybody, I feel like, at one point thought it was real. But me as a 4 year old, I thought it was real. I remember seeing a segment with like The Undertaker, Booker T, and I was scared for weeks on end of The Undertaker crawling under my bed, like, oh my God, The Undertaker's gonna get me. Because it was real to me. It was real to me. I remember being terrified, like terrified. And I didn't know it was fake because I just got to this country. Like I just got to America. So everything was still new to me. I didn't really understand English either. So I just didn't know what was going on. But wrestling was just interesting to me because I didn't even need to know English to know what's going on. I could just understand it based on what's happening, you know?
Yeah. So let I'm a touch on that. Touch on you said that you're new to the country. So correct me if I'm wrong, and I definitely do not mean to get it wrong. You're from Haiti. You're Haitian, correct?
Yes, I am from Haiti.
Awesome. That's cool. That's cool. I'm from Guyana. That's why I say 592. Repping five because that's where I was born and raised. And how we West Indians when we see something like supernatural looking, we're like, okay, I'm gonna be over here. And
Yeah,
I don't know if your
whenever
parents
we
did.
come to the islands, yeah, we see that. We're just like, nah, it's not.
And I don't know if your parents are the same as mine, but when they know that there's something that scares us, they're like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna let such and such. Like I remember it, and I'm probably gonna get laughed at. Grumpy from the Seven Dwarfs. I was kind of scared of him because he had a mean look. And
As you
my
did.
mom would be like, if you don't behave yourself, I'm gonna get grumpy on you. I'm like, and I'd be quiet all of a sudden. So if your parents are probably, well, I don't know if they found out, but they would have been like, if you don't behave, I'm gonna get the Undertaker on you.
That was the thing. Like my parents, they didn't really get into wrestling until later, and by then I wasn't scared of the Undertaker anymore because I grew up. But like when I first started, yeah, I didn't, I didn't know the difference between fake and real, and everything was still so new to me. I was thinking everything's happening. Oh my God, this black man is getting beaten up by an Undertaker. I didn't know what was happening. But now, I got older. I still continue to watch wrestling, even though I got older, matured. Like everybody gets out of that stage where they're like, "Oh, wrestling's for kids. Oh, it's so
Okay.
fake." But like me, I never got past that phase. It still entertained me. It's still something I still enjoy watching. Not as much to this day because I'm older and it's something I'm pursuing. But it's still something that you still have to find joy in, especially if you're doing it. You can't do it if you don't love it. And I always feel like I've always loved it.
Right, right. That is true. That is. I'm sorry. You were saying?
No, that was it.
Yeah. So, did you ever get to eventually meet the Undertaker in real life, or have you
No,
only been able to see him like on TV or like live, or if you ever got to see him wrestle live?
I've only seen him on TV. I've honestly never been to a WWE event in my life.
Okay, all right. So who are some of your favorites that you enjoyed watching, like that you enjoyed, seeing in the ring, and whatnot?
My favorites when I was like growing up, I loved Trish Stratus. I loved Eddie Guerrero. I loved Chris Jericho. Those were my top three. Top three right there.
Okay, that's a pretty great top three, and yeah, Trish Stratus to me, she definitely set the bar. And Eddie Guerrero and Chris Jericho, man, I always enjoyed watching those, even till now. I mean, unfortunately, Eddie Guerrero passed away. Definitely lost a true legend. But even now, I'm still grateful for Chris Jericho, and you gotta admit, he has a way of like
Talking
reinventing himself a lot.
and talking. People underestimate that and talking. I used to be like, wow, he's such a good talker. I wish I could be able to talk like that. People underestimate that. He's very good at talking.
Yeah, I, that's something I find that's kind of like a lost art these. I mean, I'm not a wrestler. I mean, I'm not even in the business. I'm just a mere fan slash podcaster. But that's something I find that's lacking. Like, there's not a lot of people that can actually talk and get you be like invested in the match. I mean, and there's unfortunately fewer these days, as opposed to back in the day. You couldn't wait to hear what Triple H would say against The Rock, or what Shawn Michaels have to say against Stone Cold and all that. It's kind of becoming a lost art. I hope it doesn't get lost too much. Because we need that. Right? That's part of what wrestling is.
Right.
So how did your journey? So now you're a fan, and you're tuning in every week, every weekend. How did your journey go from Ruthie Jay, the fan, to the Gold Standard Ruthie Jay, who's wrestled several popular opponents and so on. How did that journey go for you?
It was a long journey, that's for sure. Well, it felt long, but it was actually pretty short. Well, shorter than what I think it is, because it's like COVID, 2020 and 2021 felt like the same year. But the journey honestly was actually the probably the best part, because now that you're done training, you don't have a coach. You still probably have a coach if you're cool with them, but like now there's nobody to hold your hand as much, because now it's really you doing all of the work. But from the beginning, it wasn't something I knew I couldn't do, because I was always athletic and I always had the agility to do something like wrestling. But it was all about the confidence in trying something new, because in the beginning you're doing all these things, you're taking all these bumps, it's really hard on your body. Like I had to gain weight just so I could bump, because I was so skinny. It was hard, it was really hard on my body. But I knew I wanted it, and it was like, okay, if I want this, it can't hurt. So I had to gain the weight. I had to keep training, but the training was hard. It was very hard. My trainer Gangrel was not the easiest guy, but he's a very good trainer, and he knows what he's doing in that ring. So he wasn't easy on us. He was very hard on us, only because he wanted us to be the best that we could be. And like in a short amount of time that I was getting trained where he was previously at, I learned so much that I couldn't learn in a lot of other places. It was all everything from footwork to how to carry yourself, to all the ethics that they really don't teach you as much these days, that are missing. Like I was very lucky to find a good trainer in Gangrel. So the process was hard, because of course it's gonna be hard, but nothing that you want is gonna be easy. So the process was
Oh,
hard, but after 9 months of training, I think after 9 to 10 months, I had my first match. It was actually a pretty decent match. You know, so the first match. It's not gonna be a WrestleMania match, but pretty decent first match. From then on, it gave me the confidence to say, okay, I could do this. And then I kept gaining more confidence through more matches, more opponents. And then from now, I'm just trying to figure out who Ruthie J is more as a character, and figure out how to, present myself in the ring, because now I have all the tools. I just need to know how to use them.
I could say that seeing your couple of matches, I gotta say you're well on your way. You are definitely, killing it, and it's only I'd give it 2 years until, if not a year, I'd give it at least the most like a year and a half until more and more people start seeing. And I'm not just saying that because I was like amazed by, you know, your work in the ring, and like I said, I'm just saying, when I saw you, I was like, this girl, this woman has had to have been like a high school athlete, like a basketball player, or maybe she did some track or softball, because you
Dance.
got that appearance. Like there's people that work that wrestling has helped them work out better, and then there are people that you look at it and are like, yo, you were definitely a high school athlete. Like you look at people like Jade, Bianca Belair, you know, and Montez Ford looks. I mean, he was a Marine, but so he did some football back in you know high school, and Angelo Dawkins, okay, he did some football too. And I'm like, they had to have been an athlete. And I saw your matches. I'm like, yo, this girl is gonna be, she's definitely gonna be one to want to talk about. And I saw your match against Layla Gray, and you almost had that girl tapping. I was like, yo, she gonna tap this girl out? Yo, she about to tap, and then somehow she got out. I'm like, yeah, you got lucky this time, Layla, but next time I think you might get got. I don't know. I mean, you're a pretty good wrestler, Layla, but she's gonna get you next time. So, so I gotta ask, so speaking of that, what was it like going in the ring, mixing up with Layla Gray? You actually wrestled another one of our alumni guests, Miss Mighty Myra, who is from the West Coast, and you also got to wrestle La Rosa Negra, who's a good friend, a personally good friend of mine, who's also been on our show as well. What was it like getting into the ring and mixing it up with them and so on?
I got to train a little bit with Layla before. We wrestled each other. I got to know her a little bit. She's a cool person. Being in the ring with her was easy. It wasn't it wasn't hard at all. It was really easy being in the ring with her. Um, and then with who else did you say? With Myra, I never met her before that match. So I met her I think the day of. So it was really cool to like meet someone, have the match, talk about it after, and bond from there. Because I didn't really know her. I didn't know her at all. But the match was fun as well. It was a fun match, easy match. Same thing. It was a very easy match. Even though it was an opponent I've never even met, it was very easy. It was really easy to work with. And then with La Rosa, it was she was fun. That girl is fun. Fun. SpongeBob Fun. um, she is an energy in that ring. Wow, she is probably my best opponent. Not even probably. She is my best opponent. Let me not insult her. She is my best opponent because guess what? She is so much fun to work with. The absolute most energetic person you could have in the ring. She just brings out so much energy.
That's all. Yeah, La Rosa Negra, like she is one. Like I got to know her um I've known her for like back in since 2012, and I got to know her outside of the ring because she actually, and I'm not trying to boast or clout chase or anything, but she actually invited me, a mere fan, to have dinner with her, Allison Kay, and Marty Bell when they were up here in New York for Shine. This was like 3 years ago, and before that, she'd known we crossed paths, and somehow I'm surprised she remembered me, and she was like, "Yeah, yeah." And this was when around the time I was actually finishing up my tour in Japan. I was with the Navy, and she was like, "Are you coming to the show in Queens?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll be in town around that time. So yeah, I'll check it out, and we could probably grab some lunch and catch up on old times." And she invited me out, and this woman, the same energy she had in that ring is the same energy she had outside, and I'm like, "Wow, man! Like that's very admirable. Like just keep it up, But yeah, so you Mike, when you wrestled Mighty Mara, that was at Mission Pro, and Mission Pro is rapidly becoming one of the most well-known women's wrestling promotions in, I'd say, the whole world. I'll just put it at that. What was running through your mind when you got that opportunity? Were you nervous? Did you have butterflies going in your stomach? Or were you like, something? I got training from one of the best in the business, Gangrel. I got this. Or was it a mixture of both?
Honestly, for me, when I first got the invitation to come, it was like, wow, finally, I am getting out there. That was my first thought because that was the first booking I took outside of Florida. So I was really excited. I was like, wow, yes, I'm getting out there. I'm finally getting out of Florida. Getting out of Florida. Nothing wrong with Florida, but you want to explore other states, have different
Yeah,
opponents. Like I said, like I never met Myra. The first time I met her, good match. Like Florida circuit is very small, very tight knit because Florida. I feel like Florida's small, but like everybody knows each other. I don't know, especially in the wrestling community in Florida. Like everybody knows each other. But yeah, to be able to have the opportunity to go somewhere else and they're actually saying, "Hey, we want you to come." It's like cool, like oh, they want me, me to come.
that's awesome. I'm glad you got that opportunity. I hope that you get to travel more, to more states, Texas, which in my opinion has a great wrestling scene. You get to go to California and meet up with Myra again. Actually, I believe she's actually in NorCal, which is like San Francisco, around that area, Sacramento, and hopefully we get to see you up here in good old New York. Maybe over in CCW, tearing it up as well. To actually, you're part of a dream match that I would like to see I don't know if you met this other young lady, a young woman by the name of Tiara James, who was trained by Damian Adams. I would definitely like to see y'all, you know, go head to head. I got a feeling the athleticism in that match would definitely be one to remember.
I am not familiar with her, but I will definitely check her out. What was her name? What did you say her name was?
Tiara Tiara James. She actually wrestled. She's actually from up here in New York. She's just like she's up and coming as well too, and she recently wrestled in CW as well. So I tend to play. I tend to sometimes play shamelessly play armchair booker and have these little matchups in my head. So that's definitely one of my I wouldn't mind seeing.
Hey,
Yeah.
I want to see this now. When I check her out, I'm gonna see. I want to see. I'm like, my ideas always get spinning every time I see a wrestler. I'm like, oh wow.
So you're also so as we touched on before, you're from the great country of Haiti. Love that griot legumes, and I love that. I don't know if you like it as much as I do, but I love that zouk music. I think it's cool. I'm not just saying that because you're in front of me. Like I enjoy like I wouldn't even know what they're saying, but the rhythm just has me like just like yo, this is cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I could vibe to this. So how does it feel seeing Shad Gaspard was half Haitian. I don't know if you noticed other guy. You probably met him, Reggie Rhythm, who is also from Haiti as well too. He's down there in South Florida.
I've met him.
Have you met him before, or you've
Yeah, I've met him.
heard the name at least?
I've met him. I've met
Yeah.
him.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forgot. Y'all had the picture with you had the picture with the flag with him,
Lakai.
and oh, that
Lakai.
was my apologies once again. And there was also, oh man, there was another guy. He was and it's probably gonna his name is probably gonna come back to me, but he was also in Ring of Honor for like their top prospect tournament. He's also from Haiti as well, and you're like the fourth wrestler I know that's of Haitian, that's of Haitian nationality. How does it feel seeing them represent your country, and how does it feel to be, to many people's knowledge, the only Haitian female? And like I said, those y'all out there, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know everything, but this is the first time I'm actually seeing a Haitian, a female Haitian wrestler, and I mean that with no offense. How does it feel, being possibly the first female Haitian wrestler, to be in the world of professional wrestling? How does it feel to like know that you have fellow countrymen out there that are representing as well too?
I feel like with Haiti, there's a big, there's not very much representation in a lot of things with Haiti. Like for me, being born in Haiti and coming here when I was like 4, my life could have been completely different. So for me to come in from another country and do something that I never thought I would actually do, I feel like it's gonna be very, very inspiring for others because I am Haitian, but I am also half Dominican. But
Okay.
I do rep my Haitian side because of course I'm from Haiti. The only person that the only person from that side is my mom. She's Dominican. But my father and I, like my sister, were all born in Haiti. For Haiti, we don't really have that much representation. And for like in wrestling, I don't think women, like you said, have any representation at all, especially for my country. Like it would be easy for me to be like, no, I'm not Haitian or oh no, Dominican. But like Latinas do get representation in wrestling. They do. Black women are now starting to get more recognition in wrestling because of the
Again.
people that we have now. They are now starting to get more recognition in wrestling, black women as a whole. So for me to like represent the country that I'm from, which is Haiti, which nobody really does, it gives me like a lot of satisfaction because nobody can say, wow, that's a Haitian wrestler. Like it's so out there because nobody really sees that as often. It's so easy for me to say I'm everything else. I'm African American, I'm Dominican, but for me to say I'm a Haitian wrestler, like you said, it's not very many. Like it's not very.
Yeah, and I'm glad to see that because it's always great to see someone different, someone that's coming from a different walk of life. I felt the same way when I saw Ezekiel Jackson. He's from Guyana. Actually, get that chance to show his talents in WB. And it just so happened that I stumbled upon his profile. This is when there was no NXT. This was like when there was just FCW back in '08. And I saw this brother that looked like Bad News Brown. He had like the goatee and everything. I'm like, yo, I gotta see this brother. He look bad. And then come to find out, I was like, I think it was either I saw it on his profile or he mentioned it, and I'm like, whoa, he's from Guyana. Yo, this is cool. And I finally got to meet him eventually. Like this was '08. I got to meet him in like 2012, 4 years later. And I was so ecstatic because, I'm 39. I'm 39 years old. I've been watching wrestling since I was the age of 6 going on 7. And I never in my life thought I would ever get to see one of my fellow countrymen, you know, living out his dream as a professional wrestler. And it meant a lot. And I'm always, and even if it's not a Guyanese, whether it's Jamaican or Haitian or Bajan or Trinidadian, I'm always, grateful to see people from the same culture as we are, getting that chance to shine. And I can only imagine what you were going through before you started wrestling. You saw that, you saw, your fellow countrymen getting that shine and so on. So another thing, so you also got to make your AEW debut. I believe it was a month or two ago. You wrestled Sky Blue.
February. Yeah.
Wow, was that long ago? Wow,
Yeah.
this year's going by fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like.
So, I'm sorry.
No, I was like, it's like,
So you,
how long ago?
yeah, I thought it was like just honestly, I thought it was just last month.
Same. It feels like that much time didn't pass, but this year's flying by.
Yeah, it definitely is. So you got your opportunity to debut at AEW, and you wrestled against Sky Blue. I know it as Blue versus Gold. That's what I called it. I was like, you got Sky Blue, you got the Gold Standard.
And then when it was her
Everybody.
versus Red Velvet, it was Blue versus Red. It was funny. Somebody made the same joke. But
So
yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
yeah, so what was that like? What was it like? Getting to getting that national exposure with one of the top companies in professional wrestling.
Honestly, it was cool because, to see the backstage production, how everything is ran, the cameras, the audience, the the process, really. It's like you don't really see the process when you're on the independent like that because, well, it's not really like the same when you're wrestling for an independent company when you're wrestling for a major league company because it's two different kind of audiences, two different appeals. One is more broad, one is more vague. So when you go to somewhere like AEW and you see the backstage production, you see the value, the work, the crew, the makeup, you really see the show business side. You really see how everything is done backstage. You see it on TV, it looks easy. You go backstage, it's like everybody's running around. It's like, at first I had anxiety because I went by myself, but you gotta take, like I said, once you're done training, nobody holds your hand anymore. You gotta do everything by yourself. So I wasn't expecting anybody to hold my hand, but it's hard. It's like a dog eat dog world, literally. Everybody's there, just there. They're there to do their job, and you're there to do your job. Just don't get in each other's way. But everybody backstage was nice. I'm not gonna say it was like a terrible experience. Everybody backstage was very nice.
Awesome. Yeah, I could only imagine like what it would like the feeling of like actually training to wrestle, doing anything on the indies, and then you suddenly get the opportunity to wrestle for a big promotion, and then you see how things are done differently and so on. I'm gonna tell you, like I said, I'm gonna tell you right now, this is just my opinion. You're gonna see a lot more of that the way you're going. Trust me, you're definitely gonna see a lot more. And best believe I'll definitely be screaming at the top of my lungs when I see Ruthie Jay is all elite. Or Ruthie Jay, one of the new recruits at WWE Performance Center, the property of the WWE Performance Center shirt on. Or Impact Wrestling signs indie sensation, straight from Florida, Ruthie J.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it.
I
I'm seeing
want
it.
that for the future right there. No, everything back then. No, everything back then, from what I remember in February, because it was like, what? How? What month are we in? We're in July. Oh, wait, 5 months ago. 5 months ago. Wow. Yeah, it was fun. It was definitely a fun experience. The match, the crowd was cool. Like the match was cool because of the crowd and like the whole experience of being outside. Because backstage, it's one thing getting ready for your match, but when you're actually like on stage, not on stage, in the ring, you're in your element. Once you're there, you're comfortable. It's no longer okay. Now I can do what I'm good at, wrestling. You know, it's just everything
Right.
in between. It's just gives me anxiety because it's like once I'm in my element, which is the ring, it's great. But everything in between just makes me anxious.
Yeah, well, hopefully, you get more opportunities like that. Like
Right.
I said, I'm definitely rooting for you. We've actually had people that have been on our show that went on to do, you know, great things. Like we've had a guy, Danny Limelight, he got signed to MLW. We had another guy, I forgot. We've had so much guests that some I tend to forget, but he was part of this group, this tag team called Task Force, which is actually they're actually in Florida. His tag team partner is Dante Marquise Carter. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but his he not Dante, but the other guy. I know his first name was Mikey. He wrestled by first name was Mikey. He ended up being a referee. He's currently a referee in WWE. And of course, Roxanne Perez has been on our show. So has Amari Miller. So we're very happy for them because they've gone on to do great things, exceptional things with their career and so on. So we're definitely hoping the same happens for you as well.
Thank you.
So my next question: so you've wrestled several uh, notable names, pop not big names, but popular names that people would actually like. Oh yeah, I know who that is. Who are on your top five that you want to wrestle next? They could be from anywhere: WWE, Impact, AEW, the Independents,
Hmm.
Japan, Mexico.
Let me think. Before I answer this question, can I please put you on a brief hold?
Oh, sure, sure.
Okay.
So while we're waiting for her to return, um, yeah. So I just got to say, we found out. Well, of course, everybody knows that Vince McMahon recently retired, and I just got to. I know whether you liked him or not. You know, I personally, I'm gonna get. And the reason why I'm kind of like feeling this way is because I'm just like speechless about the news about him retiring. But I just gotta say, thank you, Vince. I know you're probably never gonna see this, but thank you for all of the matches and memories that you gave us. Thank you for giving us um, an escape for our childhoods, and we wish you all the best in all that you do. And Ruthie J is back. I was just saying thank you to Vince McMahon for all the stuff that he did. Of course, um, he retired, and I just got to ask you, as a professional wrestler, like what is your thought process on that happening? Vince McMahon announcing at 77, I'm going to retire. I thought he would have been like he wouldn't have left there until he died, but I guess he's calling it in. So what's your thoughts on that? Do you think are you do you think WWE is going to be in a bad shape or it's going to be better, or like what are your thoughts on this?
I'm sorry, I was muted. I honestly feel like it's a huge change that's gonna be very impactful for the company. Like, he's a very big part of the company. Love him or hate him, that man gave us a lot of memories, a lot of moments, and a lot of things we won't like forget. Feel however you want to feel about him. At the end of the day, you gotta respect everything he's done, created, and made. Even though you know people have their own opinions, but when it comes to him as a businessman, not him personally, he is probably one of the most like probably the smartest person that's ever done anything with wrestling or anything with a business or venture that has to do with entertainment. That's why he has a Hollywood star, for God's sakes. He has a whole Hollywood star, and he actually deserves it. You know, call him what you want, but it's really it's a huge loss. But you know, it's bound to happen. He's 77. Give the man a break.
Yeah, yeah. I said the same thing to like whether you like him or hate him. I mean, without Vince McMahon, WWE wouldn't have been a thing, and professional wrestling probably would have never hit the mainstream era that it did several years ago, and probably is still going through now. So you know, it's
That
still a bit shocking.
it is
But
shocking.
yeah, so top five.
Okay.
Like, who are your top five that you want to wrestle in the near future?
Okay. Number one, Bianca. Two, Sasha. Three, Charlotte. Four, Amber. Um, and five, Trish. Trish Stratus.
Ooh, okay. Okay, hopefully you get to wrestle all five of those. It would be amazing to see you wrestle Trisha. I'd be like, she actually got to wrestle like one of her, favorites. That
I
must
would
that
hope she
must.
remembers me. I actually got to meet her. I'm like, hey, you remember me? I'm wrestling you.
Oh, so you got to meet her before?
Yes, I got to meet her at SuperCon in Florida.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So how was that for you? Were you like all shaking and like speechless, or were you like just like, yo,
I
you
was
were my
so excited. I was about to cry. My sister was just like, had to introduce me because she was like, I have your biggest fan. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I met her. She was so nice. She even let me cut a promo on her.
wow, that's cool, man. It's always a great feeling meeting your favorites. Like I felt the same way when I met Marty Jannetty, um, who was like one half of the Rockers back in the day, and I was like, dude, you were like one half of like my first favorite tag team, man. And I've only had three of them, and like I normally don't like mark out whenever I meet wrestlers because I'm like at the end of the day, we're all human beings,
Right.
you know. But for some reason, and with Marty, I was like, dude, you were the man, and I was like, I couldn't really like, I could barely
Control.
formulate something.
Yeah. You know, now
So
as a
I just got
professional, I can't do that. Yeah, I got to be a professional. I can't mark out for wrestlers because I'm a wrestler. It's like, even though I want to in my head, I can't because it's just less professional, if you understand.
yeah, trust me, I completely understand, and yeah, you can't really like,
Yeah,
it's
I can't.
so I'm one of the fans that I just watch and I don't complain and I just know, as The Rock would say, know your role and shut your mouth. That's what I do. I just sit down, I watch, and I forgot who said it, but somebody said wrestling is meant to be enjoyed, not deconstructed. And I think that's I'm one of those fans. I don't like to deconstruct things. If I think something is outlandish, I'm like, okay, well, I wonder where they're gonna go with this. Oh, Austin Theory won the money in the bank briefcase. Why? I'm like, okay, well, now we're gonna see where Vince is going with this. Oh, Tony Khan had such and such turn heel. Okay, well, we'll see where he's going with this, and just give it time. And that's just how I am. And certain things I've learned, there's certain things that I know that you can't do in professional wrestling, and that whole thing with being a professional wrestler and marking out is one of them. And even when I went to my first independent wrestling show, which was 10 years ago, my friend Chris Cartwright, who you probably know him if you see him, but Chris was like, just go there, be chill, shake hands, don't mark out. And I was like, okay, so that's how you do it. That's awesome. Um, and that's a demeanor I've had ever since that one show.
Yeah.
And yeah, I learned that there's certain things that that are cool that you can't do in professional wrestling that are kind of frowned upon. So
Yeah.
yeah, but hopefully you do get to wrestle all five of those people. And I know that Trish Stratus match. That's definitely going to be one that you know is you're definitely gonna remember. Win or lose, you're definitely gonna remember it.
Remember, of course. All five of them, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So My last two questions. I got two. My second to last question
Okay.
is when you're working out, when you're getting in the zone to face your opponent, what are some songs that you enjoy listening to?
I honestly don't listen to music. I don't listen to music when I'm about to hit the ring. Instead of listening to music, I give myself like positive affirmations. Like, I was born to do this. You're great. You're amazing. Like, I give myself like positive affirmations, and like, stretch, move around, jumping jacks, all that good stuff. Get my body moving, get it hot. But like, I don't listen to music. I don't. I can't. I feel like it messes up my thought process. The only thing I want to think about is what I'm thinking about, and the only voice I want to hear is my own voice. So me listening to somebody else's voice, I don't know. I never really got into the mood of listening to music before my match. I feel like me giving myself affirmation that I'm amazing or like great. I feel like that gives me the motivation that I need to go out there.
So my last question. The gold standard, Ruthie Jay. Actually, I would like to know. Part of me want, what it would be actually be amazing to see you actually meet Shelton Benjamin. And I'm not trying to start anything, but he called himself the gold standard too. It'd be amazing to see how that conversation would go.
I
He'd
actually
probably
spoke
be
to
like,
him on the phone, but
"You did?
yeah.
Wow."
MVP was just like, oh, my friend, I got a friend named Shelton. You know Shelton. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna call him. Be like, I got a girl calling herself the gold standard here, and he actually did it. I thought he was joking, but he actually called him,
Okay.
and I got to speak to him.
Was he like? Was he like in his deep voice, like, "Oh, so you call yourself the gold standard, huh?" And you're like, "Yeah, and okay, well, go on, man, carry on. I'm good. I'm in the hurt business now, so I mean, you could have that." Or yeah,
No, he
but
was
my
sweet.
last,
He was very nice. I didn't think he would actually call him. That's so random. Like, yeah, I'm gonna call Shelton, tell him you stole his. I'm like, bruh, he don't use it no more.
yeah, I would say Shelton Benjamin is and an MVP too. I'd say this is one hill I will definitely die on. MVP and Shelton Benjamin are the black champions that should have been. I will die on that hill. I don't care what anybody has to say. MVP had the mic work. I know he had the athleticism. The man practices judo. Shelton Benjamin, a collegiate athlete. Those were the two champions that should have been. Why they weren't? It just baffles me.
I mean,
But
there's a lot of things that go into that, but it doesn't really affect their roles. And like you said, sometimes things work out, sometimes they don't. But we still remember them to this day. We still talk about them to this day. They still have a job to this day with the same company to this day. So for me, when people say things like that, I'm like, oh, yeah, they're champions. I should have been champions, but guess what? They were never forgotten, and they still have jobs to this day.
yeah, that's a big plus.
Yeah.
Definitely a
So
big plus.
there's a
And I'll
lot of
say
champions that were champions. You forget them. They forgot even they were champions.
and I'll say MVP is definitely one of the most respected, in the world of professional wrestling, especially in South Florida. Definitely is. And I always the man, man's definitely a manager of champions. I'll definitely give him that. He's
Yeah.
definitely one that gave the managing art, the art of being a manager in professional wrestling, some new life, and I'm glad that he got that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
He
he
did.
got.
He did.
So my last question is, where do you see the gold standard in 5 years?
I feel like in 5 years, I will pass. I will pass gold and being the standard. I'll go beyond gold and be something above that. In 5 years, I see myself 5 times better. I see myself 5 times stronger. I see myself 5 times better looking. I see myself 5 times as more amazing than what I am now. I feel like time is only going to make me better in everything that I do because guess what? Time gives you experience. Experience makes you better. Just gotta keep trying. As long as you don't give up, you keep trying. I feel like I can do anything in these next 5 years. These next 5 years, I'll still be in my 20s. I'll be 27 years old. I'll still be very young. I'll still be grinding. I'll still be Ruthie Jay at the end of the day. So in 5 years, I see myself not the best, not just yet, but I see myself being very close to the best.
Wow. So you said higher than gold standard. So would it be safe to say you might be going for a platinum status or maybe a diamond drip?
Maybe.
Awesome. We'll definitely be watching. But I just got to say, Ruthie, thank you very much for taking this time out, out of your busy schedule to be on our show. We greatly appreciate it. I'm just sorry that my two co-hosts, Rob and Kathy, they couldn't be here. But hopefully, next time, you know, we'll get, if they'll get a chance to talk to you and so on. And yeah, I just gotta say, keep on doing, the amazing work that you're doing. I was very impressed when I saw your matches. I was like, yo, this match is lit. Even with La Rosa Negra, when I saw that double count out, I was like, that match had me invested. I couldn't wait to see the next one. And like I said, I hope all the good things happen to you. I hope you get to travel the world as a professional wrestler and eventually get that big money contract. And I'll be like, yeah, she done did it. She up there. My fellow West Indian. She's making a name for herself. So before we shut this show down, where can fans find you on social media when they want to find out when your next appearances, purchase Ruthie J merchandise, and where can bookers and promoters find you when they want to book you for their shows?
On Instagram, you can find me at Ruthie with an IE underscore all underscore smiles with the S at the end. You can find me on Twitter at Superior Queen, one word, Queen with a W, not a U, because I'm unique. And you can find me on Facebook. My name, Ruthie J. You can find me there. Those are my three handles for social media.
Awesome. So y'all heard, definitely follow this young woman. She's doing great things in the world of professional wrestling. Whenever when she has that merch out, make sure you cop that merch. If you see her at shows or if it's on Pro Wrestling Tees or What a Maneuver, make sure you cop that merch. It's always good to support indie wrestlers and indie wrestling. So that way, when Ruthie gets that big contract and she gets signed to WWE or AEW, and somebody wants to show off and say, "Hey, I got the new Ruthie J shirt." You could be like, yeah, well, I got this one that she had first had on the Indies. Yeah, I'm a real fan. It's always great to support somebody, on their journey before they get popular.
Right.
So, Ruthie, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. If y'all want to follow me on social media, you can find me on Twitter at the Remy Blue. You can also find me on Instagram at the Remy Blue, and also you can find me on Facebook under the alias Remy Blue. Our podcast is also on social media. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Ringside Society, Ringside Society 2019. We're on Facebook as a Facebook group under Ringside Society, and we're also on Spotify. We're no longer on Blog Talk, but you can still find some of our episodes on Blog Talk. But a lot of stuff is mostly on Spotify. And also, we have a YouTube channel. Yes, we have a YouTube channel where we have cool, interviews like this one, like the one we had at Katie Hebner, and several other, wrestlers as well. So make sure when you go on YouTube, you type in Ringside Society, and once you see that sweet OMG dark blue and light blue yin yang sign with the blue flames around it, that's when you know it's us. So make sure you subscribe to all our videos because we got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and you don't want to miss a thing like Aerosmith in 1998. But with that being said, it's about that time. My eyelids are getting heavy. I'm feeling kind of hungry, so that means it's time for dinner and a nap. Maybe not in that order, but before I indulge in that, I just want to thank everybody tuning in tonight live. We really and truly appreciate it. To those y'all that are going to listen to us later on, thank you very much in advance. And those y'all that hate us, can't stand us, really and truly wish we'd go away. Well, like myself at the Golden Corral, we're not going anywhere for a while. But just want to let y'all know that we here at Ringside Society, that's right, myself, Kathy Knight, and Rob Bass, We're very well on the way with everybody and their grandparents and the parents of a podcast. Oh, not your grandparents' podcast. We're not your parents' podcast. As a matter of fact, we're not just any podcast. Hashtag we are not the same. We're the Wrestling Fans Podcast, Ringside Society. And with that being said, we will be back next week with another impressive guest, another impressive episode. But until then, we just want y'all to do four favors for us. It's not too much to ask. Stay safe, stay healthy, be excellent to each other, and party on, dudes. We out. Peace.